So today's daily coding challenge is this here, which is, let's zoom in. We've got a class, and the class is called SetAlarm, and we've got three functions, but all of the functions have got the same name. They're all called run alarm. That's the first function, that's the second one, that's the third function, and the only difference is that they return different strings just slightly over here. And then we get this variable time object, and we instantiate the class, this SetAlarm class over here, and then we print this time object that we've just created and do .run alarm. And the question is what do we get out of this? Do we get I run at 10, I run at 11, I run at 12, or all of the above? I actually really don't know the answer to this. So the only one I'm going to rule out is this middle one, just logically, because you could argue that it's going to be the first one, because the first one was the first one that was created. I'm probably going to argue that it's the last one, this one, because each sequential one, when the class is actually created, overwrites the next one. So this gets written, and then this function overwrites the previous one because they've got the same name, and then this third one overwrites the first two because it's also got the same name. So if I had to go for anything, I'm going to go for this. Although this has got, like, say, a 10% chance. I don't know, like, I'm kind of like guessing with my knowledge of Python. It's probably less. I'm going for this one personally. But finally, and this is really interesting, is the all of the above. Although I think I'm going to rule that one out as well. So, you know, kind of like stop the video and sort of like have a vote on it yourself. But I'm going for C. I don't want to sort of like convince anyone what the answer is actually going to be. But let's actually now do this in the code itself. So I think I might zoom in a tiny bit more, so this thing's going to get a bit bigger, just so that we can see the actual code written. And it is class SetAlarm. So class, I can create a class method like this. I'm going to call it SetAlarm. We start all of our classes with capitals. That's pretty standard convention. There's no doc string here. You know what? I'm going to keep this. So let's set an alarm. It's always nice to have a doc string, kind of like for the sake of it. And then we've got these three functions here. So def run alarm with a self function. So instead of initializing the function, we are just going to have a, what did we say it was? A run underscore alarm. So run underscore alarm. And then just a self in there and no other variables, and it's going to return back a string, and the string is I. So our string is I will run at 10, and we can kind of like copy this across and paste it twice more, so once and twice, and just changing the variables at the end over here. And maybe like the first thing to do is actually comment this out to see what the behavior will be, because that might give us a clue. Because if it's going to run both of them, then straight away we're going to know the answer is D. If it runs the second one, we're going to say the answer is likely to be the answer will be 12, and if it runs the first one, the answer will be 10. So kind of like already we didn't need the third function in here to decipher the behavior of what's going to happen in a Python class when you've got three functions, or I'm going to call them methods because they are methods inside the class, when you've got three methods that have all got the same name. So now we're just going to do the print statement, and we need to actually do the instantiation of the class. So, and what do we actually call it when we instantiated it? Time underscore object equals SetAlarm. So time underscore object equals, and then set alarm over here, and it takes no arguments and it returns nothing as well, so that's perfectly fine. And then now we can do the time underscore object and then dot, and we've got the run alarm, but as we can see here, there's only one run alarm that's given to us. Maybe that's actually the clue in itself. because I guess it's only taking one, and I think I'm gunning for C, and like I'm certainly going for that one. So let's actually just try and print this, and we get I will run 11. I will run at 11. And that's kind of like the clue. That's telling us that the last one is going to overwrite the previous ones. And that's very common behavior in Python. So in a way, although I was relatively sure, maybe I should have been like nearly 100% sure, because that's actually just what happens in Python full stop. So if I just run this, we get I will run at 12. So the answer was actually this one, C, kind of like as we expected, but more so, and this is kind of like the intuitive part of it, which is if I just generically go to behavior in Python, I can say something like A equals 100 and then A equals hello. And this is kind of like one of the first things that we learn in these dynamically typed languages, which is that we can we automatically overwrite this variable with the second one. So whatever comes next overwrites the first one. And the same is true for, this is why we could have guessed it. We can create a function here, and our function can take in a variable x and return x plus 1. And then we can create exactly the same function just like this, and instead of returning x plus 1, we can return x plus 100, and then we can call our function down below. So we could say something like y equals function and then 1. Now the question is what we're going to get back. Are we going to get back x plus 1 because we're calling this function over here? So is this function referring to the first one, or is it referring to the second one? And actually we know that the second one overwrites the first one. That's just the behavior of Python. We already know this from this kind of behavior over here, that the variable occurring the second time and also the function occurring the second time overwrites the previous one. It's a standard behavior in Python. So it's kind of like expected, and we can actually just prove that to ourselves by running that piece of code. We'd have to do a print of y, of course. Print y over there, and we see that we get 101 back because the second function has been written. So that's really it. That's a class in Python, and a class with methods where the 3 different methods all have the same name. We get the third method overwrites the previous 2. So thanks for watching.